Hola amigos! In the last session, we have learned to use some important expressions which facilitate us in learning Spanish better. Today, we shall go a little further and learn to introduce ourselves in Spanish. Firstly, let us learn how to say my name is. To understand better, let us consider this conversation between Juan and Anand. Juan says, Hola. Anand says, Hola. Me llamo Juan. ¿Y tú? Yo me llamo Anand. Mucho gusto. Mucho gusto. In the conversation between Anand and Juan, after they greet each other, they are introducing themselves. Please pay attention to me llamo Juan and yo me llamo Anand. Let us consider another situation. Before a Spanish class, two students get to know each other, Anand and Ravi. Anand says, Hola, buenos días, yo me llamo Anand. Ravi says, Hola, buenos días, yo me llamo Ravi. Anand says, Mucho gusto. Ravi says, Encantado. You can now understand that me llamo is my name is. You pronounce it as me since the alphabet used are me and a. And llamo is the double L, if you remember, which is pronounced as ya or lya. And it is said as me llamo and you say the name, any name for example. Another interesting feature here which you must have noticed that in some contexts you may say me llamo and in some you just say yo me llamo. Can you make out yo is I and tú is you? Yo and tú are the first and the second person subject pronouns. Let me at this juncture briefly introduce you to the first, second and third persons. The first person is always the person who speaks, I, and the person who you talk to or the listener is you or tú in Spanish. You also have usted to refer to second person in formal contexts which is absent in English but exists in many Indian languages. The third person is anybody or anything other than the first and the second person, that is he, she or it. And in Spanish it is él or ella. Since all the nouns in Spanish are either masculine or feminine and the corresponding pronouns are él for masculine and ella for feminine. The first person plural is nosotros or nosotras for we. The first form refers to a group of males or males and females, that is nosotros, while the second form, that is nosotras, refers to a group of only females. The second person plural, you all, is vosotros or vosotras. And now you know that the first form refers to a group of males and females, and the second form, that is vosotras, refers to a group of only females. The third person plural is ellos, ellas and ustedes. Let us just look at the usted form or the formal form. The formal form is the second person formal, that is which I said is absent in English. After that, as I said, you have the third person. Now, we also use ustedes, that is in formal situations, which is used in Spain, and informal situations in Spanish America for the second person plural. The third person plural, they, in English is ellos for masculine, plural, and ellas is for they for feminine plural. So, you now have yo, tú, usted, nosotros, nosotras, vosotros, vosotras, ustedes, and ellos, ellas, and ustedes. After having seen the subject pronouns in Spanish, look at some popular Spanish or Hispanic names. Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Rafael Nadal Pereira, Penelope Cruz Sánchez, Pablo Ruiz y Picasso, Conchita Martinez Granados. Can you see that there are three names? The first one is the name or nombre, and the other two are surnames or apellidos. In the Spanish speaking worlds, it is customary to have two surnames. The first surname is the father's surname, and the second they get the mother's surname. The mother's surname is used mainly in written documents for official purposes. So, they have a name or a nombre and two surnames or apellidos. Some common names are Jorge, Pablo, Juan, Ramon, Ana Maria, Teresa, Francisca, Irene, Marta, Monse. From the names that we just saw, can you make out which ones are of women and which ones are of men? You guessed right. Ana Maria, Teresa, Francisca are all names of women. Jorge, Pablo, Juan, Ramon are names of men. Let us go a little further. Here is a conversation between three people. Ravi is introducing his Spanish friend Juan to Anand. Ravi says, "Hola Juan, ¿qué tal?" Juan replies, "Muy bien Ravi, ¿y tú?" And Ravi says, "Bien, muy bien Juan, este es mi amigo Anand." "Oh Anand, hola Anand, encantado." Anand says, "Hola Juan, mucho gusto." Mucho gusto or encantado are expressions to say glad, pleased to meet you. Mucho gusto doesn't change with gender, whereas encantado changes with gender and number. As we have seen in Spanish, to make some noun or adjective into a feminine gender, you add the suffix a, and to make it plural, you add the suffix s or es, depending on how a noun ends. Let us learn how encantado differs. Let us consider another conversation. Ravi meets Gloria, a Latin American girl, in the cafeteria. Ravi says, "Hola, soy Ravi. ¿Y tú?" And Gloria says, "Hola, me llamo Gloria. Encantada." Ravi says, "Mucho gusto, Gloria." You must have noticed that there are two new things in this conversation. Soy Ravi instead of me llamo Ravi. He used soy Ravi. You guessed right. Soy Ravi is I am Ravi. So, you have two ways of saying or introducing yourself, me llamo and soy. These are from two different verbs. Llamarse, in Spanish, llamarse is to call oneself, and me llamo, the literal meaning is I call myself, in the sense of my name is. Or you say soy Ravi, I am Ravi. Soy Ravi, the soy is from the verb ser, which is the verb to be. Today we shall learn two conjugations of llamarse and ser. Me llamo, te llamas, se llama, nos llamamos, os llamáis, se llaman. This is to do with the verb llamarse. Let us now look at the verb ser. Yo soy. Yo soy, I am. Tú eres, you are. Él es, he is. Ella es, she is. Nosotros somos, we are. Vosotros sois, you are. Ustedes son, you are. Ellos son, they are, or males and females, ellos son. Ellas son, they are, all females, group of females. This is the verb ser. We have looked at the verb ser and llamar, right? Now, let us consider another conversation where we learn a little more. The conversation is again between Anand, Ravi and Juan. Anand says, "Hola Juan, ¿qué tal?" Muy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? Sí, yo estoy muy bien, gracias. ¿A qué te dedicas, Ravi? Yo soy estudiante, Juan. ¿Y tú? Juan says, yo también soy estudiante. Ravi, ¿a qué se dedica Anand? Anand también es estudiante. From this conversation, you must have understood that they are talking of their professions or what they do. ¿A qué te dedicas? What do you do? And it is used in the context of knowing the profession of the other person. ¿A qué te dedicas tú? What is that you do as a profession? In reply, you say, yo soy estudiante. I am student. Yo soy profesora. I am a professor or a teacher. ¿A qué se dedica Ravi? What does Ravi do? Ravi también es estudiante. También is the word which means also. Ravi también es estudiante. Ravi is also a student. When you want to say, I am also a student, what would you say? Yeah, you would say, yo también soy estudiante. ¿A qué se dedica Juan? What does Juan do? Juan también es estudiante. Se dedica o te dedicas is from the verb dedicarse, which is mostly used to know about the profession of the second person or the third person. You seldom use me dedico in reply. You do not say me dedico and whatever profession, but to ask a question, you certainly use the verb dedicarse in the tu form or the usted form to the second person. ¿A qué te dedicas tú? ¿A qué se dedica usted? That is, what do you do? In a formal context, usted, and in an informal context, tú. And you want to know about what do they do, those students do, for example. You will say, ¿a qué se dedican los estudiantes? And los estudiantes is students, obviously. Ellos son estudiantes, they are students. Now, you can make any number of sentences with the verb ser to talk about your profession. For example, you can say, yo soy profesora en la universidad. That is, I am a teacher or a professor in the university. En la universidad. In the university. Yo soy banquero en el banco. Banco? Yes, it is bank. Yo soy banquero en el banco. Banco is bank. I am a banker in a bank. Yo soy pintor. Now you can say, Pablo Picasso es pintor. Right. Pablo Picasso, the Spanish painter, Pablo Picasso es, because it's the third person, you will say yes, es. Pablo Picasso es pintor. Enrique Iglesias. Are you familiar with this name? Yes. Enrique Iglesias es cantante. Enrique Iglesias is a singer. Shakira. Shakira también es cantante. Shakira también. También also is a singer. Do you remember the name Rafael Nadal? Yes, the famous tennis star. ¿A qué se dedica Rafael? Rafael es deportista de tenis. Es jugador de tenis. Es jugador de tenis. Jugador. Conchita Martínez es jugadora de tenis. You must have noticed the difference in gender between jugador and jugadora. Jugador, masculine noun, jugadora, feminine. Conchita es jugadora. So, as I said earlier, the nouns are masculine or feminine, and therefore the professions too. If Juan is a professor, he says, yo soy profesor. And if I am a professor, I would say, yo soy profesora. And if Conchita and Rafael together, we are talking of both of them, we say, Conchita y Rafael son profesores. I have told you that s or es is the suffix you add to nouns to make it plural. So, Conchita y Rafael son profesores, and e is the adjunct and. Conchita y Rafael. Juan y Ravi. Ravi y Anand. So, e is and. You remember that in Spanish you negate just by adding no in front of a verb. Suppose you want to say, I am not a student, you will say, yo no soy estudiante. If you were to say, I am a student, you say, yo soy estudiante, and you are not a student, yo no soy estudiante. Similarly, Enrique y Shakira no son jugadores de tenis. ¿Son jugadores de tenis? Are they tennis stars? No, no son jugadores de tenis. Son cantantes. They are singers. Enrique and Shakira are not tennis players but singers. So, we have so far learned to introduce oneself, to say how nice to meet you or how glad to meet you. How do we say that? You say mucho gusto. Mucho gusto? Glad, very glad. And encantado. Encantado differs with feminine gender and number. If I were to meet somebody, I would say encantada, and if some of us are meeting a person, we would say encantadas, all a group of women. So, encantado, encantada, encantados, encantadas. And we have also learnt to say, I am a student, to talk about your profession. So, in today's session, we have learnt the verb llamarse, verb ser, and we have done a little bit of dedicarse to talk about professions. And that's all for today. See you in the next session. Adios.